In this brief tutorial, we're going to go over how to edit the home page. So you need to be logged in as the administrator, and when you are on the home page, you can click on the Manage button. And that brings up the home page editor. And the editor is kind of like a word processor, but it's a simplified version. So as you can see in our template here, we've got some title text, and you're going to see a few of these tags. These are called replacement tags, and they have a caret symbol at the beginning and the end. And all those mean is that they are special tags that will be replaced with other text. For example, the community name tag is going to be replaced by the name of your community. That's whatever you put in setup info that appears up top here as the name of your community. So when this page runs for real, let's do that. You're going to see, instead of saying community name, it's going to say HOA space tutorial. And you can see it does right here. That was replaced. So those replacement tags are just special tags you can insert that will be replaced with other information. So let's go ahead and take a look at what else the page has in the editor. The next one is this homepage image, which you may have seen before. This is a placeholder for the image that is selected down here in this field. This is a list of all the images that are in File Manager. And so you can choose an image from File Manager, and it will be placed in this area. So the sample lake photo, when we go back to the home page, you can see the sample lake photo is placed in that area. And if you want to put an image on your home page, you want to replace that with a different image, I highly recommend you upload it to File Manager and then choose it. Rather than inserting it manually into the page here, allow it to go where the homepage image tag is and select your image from this list. The reason I say that is that the homepage image tag is specially handled by the system to create an image that will resize automatically and position itself automatically on the homepage, regardless of the type of browser they're using. So if they're on a mobile device or a desktop or a laptop or a tablet, when the homepage image tag is used and you select your image down here, the system will do its best to fit the image properly on that type of device. If you just go ahead and insert an image on the page manually, and I'll show you how to do that, it may not adjust itself as well as it does when you use the homepage image tag and select that image here. So let's go over how to edit the page. So the first and most obvious thing that people are going to edit is the text. They want to add some different text in here. And so as a simple edit, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove some of the text. So I'm going to highlight this part that says viewing the photos in the photo gallery. I'm just going to highlight it like you would in a word processor and hit delete. And that's gone. And so now there's a simple text edit. And I'm going to add a little more text at the very end here. I'm going to go to the end. And in order to add some text, I'm going to provide an example down here after this last paragraph. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor right there. And this is important. You want to hit Shift Enter instead of just Enter. And the reason for that is that we're working in a column now. You can't see the column borders, but we're working inside of a column, inside the code that makes this page columned. So when you hit Shift Enter, it won't break those columns. If I just hit Enter like that, you can see it actually has moved me up to a new column because it's using Enter more like a new paragraph or it's actually a column break in this case. So in this case, you're going to hit Shift Enter. And I can do that again if I want to add a little more text. And I can say, this is some new text. And now we'll do a preview, since we can just scroll down and do preview without saving. And we should see the photo link is now deleted. And here is the new text that I added. So that's an example of that. And now I'm just going to go back to the editor by closing down this preview tab. So let's say you want to insert an image manually on the page someplace else. So I'm going to insert an image down here above the word welcome. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here and I'm going to add some blank space by hitting Shift Enter a couple times and then use my cursor to move up into the blank space. If I go up too far, you can see that I've moved the cursor up in here, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to move down again. Here's the spot where I'm going to put it. And to add an image, you can click on this button up here, which is the Insert Edit Image. And when you click on that, you get a pop-up. And there are a couple ways to upload an image or to put an image in this spot. One is the basic easy way is to upload the image first in File Manager and then use this image list to select it. So I can go here and I can scroll down to, we can try golf course. And what you're going to see is it's going to fill it in with the link to it up here in the File Manager. And you're also going to see it's going to fill in the width and height of the image. What I would like to recommend is that you remove these because these are actual pixel widths. And it's always best to go with a percentage width because the percentage width will adjust a little better if people have wider browsers, narrower browsers, they view it on a smaller device like a phone or a tablet. It's just always better to have a percentage. So I'm going to go with like 50% just to try this out and hit save. And you can see it inserted that image and it's about 50% of the size of the screen. And when I go down to preview, we will see that image down here. And if I were to resize my browser, this image would get smaller and then grow again to fit the size of the window. If you make it a fixed width, like 700 pixels, then as the window gets smaller, it's going to start getting truncated and it's not going to center properly and it's not going to look as good. So generally when you're inserting images, get in the habit of specifying a percentage width, and you don't need a height because it will automatically use the height that's proportionate to the width you enter. I'm going to bring that up again. I've clicked on the image and now I can edit it. And I could change this to 30% and make it smaller if I didn't like that size. And you'll see it'll make it a little bit smaller. So that's how you insert an image. Other things like changing your text, like making things bold and italics, is a lot like using a word processor. I can highlight some text here and click on the bold icon and it makes it bold. If I want to make it bold and italic, I can click on the italic icon and so on. There are some text alignment options like center, right justify, left justify. There are bulleted lists that you can use, very similar to a word processor. So the only warning I'll give is that because these pages are designed to be responsive, which means they respond and adjust automatically to the type of browser you're using or the type of device you're using, like a phone versus desktop. The way the website will appear on a phone, you have a very narrow, long page display. That's very different than a desktop, which tends to be landscape mode or wide. So my recommendation is, if you are a web designer, you can actually get into the source code of the page by clicking that button. You can see the actual source code behind this. And if you are into writing HTML code and changing CSS styles, you can make any changes you want in here. If you just want to change some text, maybe add an image, then what I would say is try to stay within the constraints of the template. And what I mean by that is keep the text in this general area. If you start trying to add new entire sections, or for example, if I want to change one of these links, I could change this link to be a link to a different app instead of the HOA request app, which is your, violations, suggestions. I could maybe change this to something else, like a link to a different page. But if you kind of keep within this template, maybe just delete items or add some in the same columns that we have here or in the same text paragraph we have here, you should be pretty safe. It shouldn't break the layout. It's just that you don't see all this underlying text, all this underlying code when you're in the editor. And so it's easy to hit enter and create a new paragraph that's no longer centered, or it breaks this from being a 2-column display into a 3-column display. So it is best, unless you're really versed in HTML coding, to just kind of minimize your changes to keeping within the template. We have 3 templates, so you can always choose the template that fits your your aesthetic view that you want, and then just stick within that template. We have a 1-column template, a 2-column template, and a 3-column template. And there's another tutorial video that goes over those and shows demos of each of those. And we have actual demo sites for each of those. But yeah, unless you're versed in HTML coding and responsive design, you want to kind of stick within the basic templates so that the site will always operate well and it will adapt well to the different types of displays that you might show it on. Again, you could change a link down here by highlighting it, and I could type, like any page in here. I could, let's say I want to make this the board. I want to link to the board application. So what I could do is I can type the word board. Now it still isn't going to link to the board application, but the way I could do that is I can go into here and right click and say copy link address. So now I have the link to that page. And now I've got this highlighted here. And when I click on this link button, which you can see is already highlighted because I have some text selected that is a link, I can click on that. And when it comes up, I can just replace this. And by the way, whenever you see this stuff here at the end that looks like garbage, you can get rid of that. That MCK at the end, just the ones that say MCK equals, that's just some extra code that we have in the menu. This is the normal link to that application. And so then I can click save. And now that will actually link to the board application. It'll go to the same place that you'd go to if you clicked on community, contact, and board. That's the same link. So that'd be how you change, for example, one of these. And you could delete one of these if you didn't like it. Again, you want to be very careful with how you hit the delete key or the backspace key, and try not to delete too much, because then you can change the formatting, which you don't want to do. So I've gotten rid of it, and I can hit delete here and get rid of that blank line or backspace. There we go, and get rid of the blank line. So you can make changes. You just want to be careful and kind of try to kind of stay within the lines, even though you can't see those lines. But they are there, keeping the format of the page consistent. So again, best bet is to look at the 3 different formats that we have, the 1 column, 2 column, 3 column, and choose the one that's closest. And then you can make minor tweaks to the text and add links and that kind of thing to get it to be customized for your neighborhood. And if you're interested in some of these tags, like what tags you can use on your page, like this one we talked about already, was replaced with your community name, whatever ends up showing up there. This right here, this icon, replacement tags, will open a window and show you a list of all the different tags you can insert. So for example, here's one, site search or site search wide. Site search wide will be a wide box that I think it has a little magnifying glass icon in it or next to it. And members can then type something into the box to search the website. So if they want to search for a particular document name, they could type it in there and it will show them, it'll show them links to it, get them to the page where it's located. So there's these types of tags that get replaced by things. The weather forecast we already saw was on the page already. So it wasn't the forecast, it was the conditions. So here's one just for the conditions. There's actually one for conditions with a 3-day forecast. So there are a lot of really kind of cool things you can add to the homepage by just inserting these tags. Again, you kind of have to be careful where you place them, because if you wanted that box that the tag represents, like the weather box, to appear in this column, you got to make sure that when you insert the area for it, you're staying within that column. See, I hit enter, not shift enter, and it created a new column on me. So if I hit shift enter here, it won't break the formatting. It will just keep me within that in that column, and I can then insert a tag. And again, most of those tags begin with the caret symbol, and then weather conditions, I think, was one of them. I could do that. And they can be upper or lowercase. They're all uppercase in the sample page, but they can be lowercase as well. So yeah, so that's how you edit the homepage. And then whenever you're done, you can hit apply. Well, you can always preview it. Again, when you preview it, you want to be careful, because in fact, there's the weather conditions we inserted. You can see that there. You want to be careful that you don't just say, okay, I'm done, and close your browser because you haven't saved it. You're only previewing it. And you don't want to close, this is your editing window over here. So this is the one you want to keep. Don't close that one. But you can close this one as it indicates here. This is temporary. So you can close that, but you have to come back here and you have to click save or apply in order to make it permanent. All right, so that is how you make kind of the general edits to the homepage. And I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and thank you very much for watching.